Dear friends, welcome to ROC, that is Real Other Channel from London. I am Kader. Today we are happy to unveil this political program titled The Wall. Just like a wall has two sides, this program aims to examine the often overlooked other side of the story about important happenings in Sri Lanka and around the world. This is an experimental endeavor. Depending on your support, we will progressively enhance this site by exploring diverse topics. We value your support in moving forward together on this journey. Let us dive straight into the topic at hand. Today's topic: Sri Lankan presidential election 2024, the voter's choice, part 1. There was uncertainty as to whether the election would take place or not. Following the Supreme Court's definitive ruling, Sri Lanka's 9th presidential election has officially announced. Record 39 candidates are contesting. Election campaigns are heating up. Although there are 39 candidates in the election, most of them are dummy candidates propped up by vested interests. Some are public seekers, but some of them are contesting with a specific purpose or to prove a particular point. Such candidates are: 1. Mr. Nuwan Bobeke, who was well regarded by the social organization that played a significant role in Aragalaya in running for the Socialist People's Forum. Then Pani Vijayawardena is representing Social Equality Party. In addition, the Lotus Bud Party, the Sri Lanka Padujana Peramuna, which won a landslide victory in the previous 2019 election, struggled to find a presidential candidate this time around, eventually fielding Mahinda's successor, Namal Rajapaksa, as a face-saving exercise. As Mahinda Rajapaksa continues to enjoy respect among the Sinhalese community, which may benefit him. Dilip Jayawira stands for the Communist Party of Sri Lanka. However, the real competition this time is between three horses: Anurakumara Disanayaka, Sajith Premadasa, and Ranil Wickremesinghe. There seems to be a notable generation gap among them. Anurakumara Disanayaka, who was born in 1968, and Sajith Premadasa, who was born in 1967, are relatively younger, whereas Ranil Wickremesinghe, born in 1949, that is 1 year after independence, is considerably older. The age gap among them spans at least 21 years. Ranil possesses greater political experiences than all other contestants. Ranil Wickremesinghe was born into one of the Sri Lanka's most politically influential and affluent families. He is the second son of Esmond Wickremesinghe and Nalini Wickremesinghe. His father, Esmond, was a prominent journalist and a former Samassamajist who served as the chairman of the Lake House group of newspaper, the largest media organization during the era of print media prevailed. His maternal grandfather, D.R. Vijayawardena, the owner of the Lake House, was also a substantial landowner. He is a nephew of J.R. Jayawardena, the Sri Lanka's first executive president. His paternal uncle, Lakshman Wickremesinghe, held the position of bishop in Church of Sri Lanka. His wife is Maitri Wickremesinghe, an English professor, at University Kelaniya. He received his education at the Royal College, Colombo, where classmates were former Speaker Anura Bandaranaike, the son of two prime ministers of the country, as well as current Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. He also joined a joint class with Chandrika Bandaranaike, the former president of the country. He's a lawyer too. Now, let us see his experience in politics. On October 5th, 1977, he was elected from Kalani constituency on behalf of UNP and became the youngest minister in cabinet under JR government. He had been prime minister for 6 times. Twice he had been an opposition leader. He is in parliament the last 47 consecutive years, 30 years holding the leadership of the UNP. Since 2024, he is the president of the country. Many ministries, including Finance Ministry, which is one of the main ministries of the government, run under him. The army and police are under his charge. He is the leader of the United National Party and is running as the independent candidate this election. His camp portrays him as a champion who had the courage to accept the challenge and establish stability. When Gotabaya fled the country during the Aragalaya, while Sajid and Anura lacked resolve to take charge of the government. That is how they portray him. A wall has 2 sides. Now, let us look at the flip side of the story. Ranil's entry into politics was not the result of his dedicated service to the people. His only advantage he was the nephew of J.R. Jayawardena, the then president of the country and the president of the UNP. Likewise, he did not rise to party leadership through popular support, but rather due to premature passing of other key leaders within the party like R. Premadasa, Kamari Dissanayaka, Lalita Mudali. Upon taking office as a party leader in 1994, his first action was to undermine internal democracy and manipulate the party constitution to his advantage, effectively declaring himself as the leader for life. Within a month of election, in 1995, he rallied his loyal supporters in the working committee to pass an amendment, Article 8.1. The same year, during the party conference in Katargama, he secured approval for the change. The Article 8 of the UNP Constitution, which he brought as the amendment, stipulated that a new leader could only be elected if there is a vacancy. This means that only if Ranil resigns or dies, another leader can be elected. We can't find such a undemocratic constitution in any other part of the world. He is a proven failed leader. If you count the number of failed elections under his leadership, it will create a Guinness World Record. The Western countries like Britain, when a party loses an election, it is customary for the party leader to resign gracefully after their party loses an election, allowing for new leadership. However, the UNP has lost not once, not twice, but in 32 elections under his leadership, yet he has chosen not to step down. Since his defeat in 2005 presidential election, party members have been calling for reforms. Many of those who voiced their concern have either been expelled or compelled to leave the party on their own. In 2006, then MP Mahinda Wijesekara, who boldly stated, "We don't need a dictatorship in the party," to Wickremesinghe's face. He opposed Ranil, even at the time, opposed party reform and suppressed inner party democracy. Interestingly, the MP Mahinda Wijesekara is the father of the minister Kanchana Wijesekara, who for some reason is now supporting Ranil in the election. He essentially made it clear that members could either accept his leadership or leave. This disastrous policy led the downfall of the grand old party, the United National Party. At one point, Republican Senator John McCain, who contested the election of US United States in 2008 against Barack Obama, expressed his disappointment with Wickremesinghe's leadership during a conversation with senior UNP activists in Washington, criticizing his record of losing election. Despite this, Ranil did not resign from the post, nor reform the party. Let us compare Ranil's arrogant attitude towards inner party democracy with that of his uncle Jayawardena, who strengthened inner party democracy. During a period of decline for the United National Party in the early 70s, under Sirimao period, Jayawardena assumed leadership and revitalized the party. Despite being viewed as a dictator, he valued inner party democracy. He empowered prominent figures such as R. Premadasa, Gamini Sanayaka, Lalita Thiruthmudali, Ronnie D. Mill to operate independently. Ultimately, it paid off. This approach led the party to a resounding victory in 1977 general elections. Then, at the end of the presidential term, he gracefully stepped down from party leadership and politics. In contrast, Ranil, who was fixated on maintaining power, stifled the growth of emerging leaders and resulting in departure of numerous UNP figures. Ranil has repeatedly proved his willingness to go to any length to protect his position in the UNP. There were times when he sank so low to defend his position. Such an incident occurred in 2011. Let me tell you that story. The inner party crisis reached a boiling point after 2010 presidential election. You know what happened in that election. Ranil was hesitant to face Mahinda Rajapaksa, who enjoyed immense popularity among the Sinhalese at the time. The party was inclined to nominate Karu Jayasuriya, a candidate with strong public support. Concerned that his leadership position could be jeopardized if Jayasuriya was nominated, Ranil decided to nominate an outsider. Thus, Army Commander Sarath Fonseca, who is well known for his role in defeating LTT during the war, contested the election with the support of the UNP. Fonseca lost the election and faced revengeful retaliation from Rajapaksa. Ranil did not take decisive action or organize any protest rallies in response. All this led to significant dissatisfaction with the party. To In the local council election that followed in 2011, the UNP suffered a devastating setback, which added salt to the wound. This humiliating loss sparked a renewed internal conflict as party members sought to challenge Ranil's one-man leadership. The membership strongly demanded to form a leadership council and restructure the party. They didn't demand resignation of Ranil even at that point. They were so generous to him. In response to what they viewed as a legitimate request, Ranil resorted to various Machiavellian strategies to regain control. However, the frustrated party members, along with supportive Buddhist monks, organized a march to the UNP headquarters, Srikota, in protest. However, on the day of planned demonstration, an unbelievable situation unfolded when the highways department closed the perfectly paved road connecting Pitakota Junction to Rajagiriya, which runs right in front of Srikota for refacing. As a result of this blockade, all access to Srikota was effectively stopped and the protest was fizzled out. Throughout the day, police significantly increased security at both Ranil's private residence and Srikota. It was not surprising that Ranil sought help from his political adversary, then President Mahinda Rajapaksa, who readily intervened to fortify Ranil's position within the UNP. This is another story as to how the president crown bestowed to Ranil in 2022. This very covert alliance between Ranil and Rajapaksa ultimately played a crucial role in Ranil's unexpected accession to the presidency in 2022 too. I will elaborate this topic on later. This way, authoritarian control within the party positioned him as an unshakable leader of the UNP. But his dictatorship has diminished the party's standing, which he governed Sri Lanka, which has governed 38 years of 36 years since independence, transforming into one of the country's largest political party into a spent force. His leadership failure and the public perception of him were reflected in a dismal election result in 2020 general election. UNP under Ranil leadership suffered its worst defeat ever, garnering just 249,435 votes, only 2.15% of the national total. While fielding candidates in 105 seats, he failed to secure any seat. He himself, contesting in Colombo district, received merely 30,875 votes, that is 2.61%, and if he had contested as an independent candidate, he would have lost his deposit. The UNP managed to win, however, one single seat through national list. On the other hand, the newly formed Samagi Jana Balavege under the leadership of Sajid Premadasa secured 54 seats in the election. Ranil's stance during the 2015 election was that individuals who were rejected by the electorate should not be included in the national list or allowed to sneak in through backdoor methods. However, in 2021, June 23, he did both. He appointed himself as the nationalist member of parliament for the UNP, defying his stated principle. At this point, I would like to share something a friend told me recently that might help clarify the true nature of Ranil. He told Gotabaya is not a good president and he should have stepped down long ago. But he did not order shooting of protesters even when they stormed the presidential house. No one anticipated that he would resign and flee the country. If Ranil had been in his position, he would have been incinerated those who agitated against him, along with their homes and families. I believe there are compelling reason to support this view. Let us look at Ranil's track record. During the 1989 and 90, countless bodies of young individuals were floating in rivers and many were burned alive in tire fires. Undoubtedly, Ranil had a hand in it. Ranil's link to the notorious battle and the torture camp and the clandestine killer squad known as PRA and Black Cats require no further elaboration. The People's Alliance government of President Chandrika Kumaratunga appointed a special presidential commission of inquiry to investigate activities of Bataland. On 3rd September 1977, Wickremesinghe was summoned to testify before the commission. The commission report was released on 12th April 1998. One of its findings was that Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, then Minister of Science and Industries, and Nalin Deliguda, the SSP Kelaniya, who is from Ranil's constituency, indirectly responsible for the maintenance of the unlawful detention and torture chambers in certain houses of Butland housing scheme. These chambers were used by the CSU, that is Counter-Subversive Unit, men like ASP Douglas Pierce. The commission was a fact-finding mission and had no judicial powers. However, it recommended strongly that the government should bring the guilty to the books. In 2017, one renowned writer, A.M. Nizam from Mathura, wrote in the web magazine Lanka Web that Mahinda Rajapaksha once told a media conference that he personally saw 28 bodies of youth being burned on tire pyres. On a single day between Madavatta in Mathura and Nonagama Junction in Hambantota, 28 bodies were burning. In Batalan, the camp became well known after attorney at law Videdasa Lienarachi from Beliyath area was taken there and killed after being subjected to severe torture. Not only JVP suspects, two SLP candidates who were contesting for the 1989 general election were also killed during this period, it reported. He has suppressed both opposition and popular uprising alike. It is well-known secret that he has established concentration camps reminiscent of those created by Hitler and formed clandestine killer squads like Black Cats and Para, akin to Mussolini's infamous Black Shirt. Only a few people knew his link to the underworld. During Wickremesinghe's stint as education minister, his close colleague Gonavela Sunil effectively ran the ministry. Sunil was a convicted prisoner who was released under dubious presidential pardon. known at the time as Sunil Samawa, that is Sunil Pardon. Now, let us come to the arguments put forward by Ranil's camp. Let us now explore the arguments advanced by the campaign in support of his election to the presidency. Their main argument is that both for Ranil, who had the courage to accept the challenge and brought stability when Gotabaya fled the country during the Aragalaya, while Sajid and Anura lacked the resolve to take charge of the government. Let us look at the other side of the wall. In fact, it was Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca, the first to step forward to accept the challenge. Lanka also highlighted this. On May 12th, 2022, the eventful day, then President Gotabaya Rajapaksa chose to appoint Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca as Prime Minister when Mahinda Rajapaksa resigned. He urgently invited Fonseca to discuss the matter. Sarath Fonseca, so excited that he rushed to the president office with his sandals on without even wasting time to put on his pair of shoes. Following their discussions, Gotabaya ultimately decided to appoint Sarath Fonseca to the post of Prime Minister. He was said to be sworn in at the auspicious time of 5 p.m. that evening, that is May 1st, 2022. But Mahinda Rajapaksa changed his horoscope, preventing him from experiencing a fortune time. It was because upon learning of this, Mahinda Rajapaksa spoke with Gotabaya, changed his mind and reached out to his friend Ranil, persuading him to take the oath as Prime Minister. This part of the story was detailed in the editorial column of Sunday Times, the newspaper owned by Ranil's uncle, published on August 4, 2024, last month. Let us tell you the other part of the story, which is very interesting. Asai Bayai, that is tempted but afraid Ranil, was initially hesitant to accept the Prime Minister position. That was the truth. Being a lone MP of the UNP. It was only after Mahinda Rajapaksa assured him, stating, "I will handle it and you will have the full backing of our party," that he got the courage to accept the post. Therefore, as I mentioned before, he was the president of the country now, thanks to Mahinda Rajapaksa and his blessing. Furthermore, the National People's Power leader, Anura Kumara Disanayaka, also expressed a willingness to take on the responsibility. However, the Mahinda family did not like it. This is the other side of the story. Now, we'll go to the argument number 2. It is only Ranil is capable of rescuing the country from its economic crisis. The United National Party, which he currently leads, has governed Sri Lanka for 38 of the past 76 years since independence. Thus, he too must bear responsibility for the country's current economic turmoil today. After leading the UNP for 30 years and serving in Parliament for 47 years, during which he has been Prime Minister 5 times, opposition leader twice, what accomplishment does he have to demonstrate? For D.S. Senayaka, there is Galloya project, despite facing various criticism. The Mahali project honors Srimao Bandanayaka and Gamini Sanayaka. Several development initiatives, including Hamadata Port, highways and port city are attributed to Mahinda Rajapaksa even amidst accusation of corruption. What noteworthy project can be linked to Ranil? Nothing. What is his economic agenda? It is merely borrowing from the World Bank and accepting its stringent conditions. Is it selling off Sri Lanka assets and critical services like energy and telecommunication that affect national security to foreign entities for song? He has a penchant for obtaining foreign loans to pay off international debts. The beaten path that led the country's disaster today. Argument 3. Ranil was the one who put an end to the long queue of people waiting for days to buy fuel and essential. Actually, what has happened? Actually, the queue has not disappeared. It has shifted from the street to the passport office. During the time of Aragalaya, the people hoped that one day they would be able to stand up for what was rightfully theirs and help the country to grow and prosper. Under Ranil presidency, the populace has lost all hope and is apprehensive about remaining in the country due to the threat to democracy and because of the direction it is heading to. They had compelled to flee the country in frustration. And they are forced to wait in lengthy queues for days in the passport office in order to obtain passport, allowing them to flee to Middle East or any other country. However, they are disappointed in that regard too, as the government lacks funds to purchase the necessary purpose to print passports. His family publication, Daily Mirror, revealed on August 20th, 2024, that is last month, 3 days ago, that his government has declined to provide funding for young athletes to compete in the world meet. That is the country situation today. Currently, many essential medicines are unavailable in hospital. People have no money to buy or to eat. Malnutrition is at the highest level in Sri Lanka history. A significant number of specialist doctors, scientists, economists are fleeing at a higher rate than before. How to develop the country without preventing the massive brain drain like this? Actually, there were two main reasons why the queue appeared to be stopped. We need to examine the historical Aragalaya before moving on to that topic. Aragalaya. The impact of Aragalaya on Sri Lanka politics is significant and multifaceted. Firstly, it challenged the pervasive Sinhala Buddhist supremacist ideology that has long dominated the Sri Lankan politics, which had resulted in a 30-year civil conflict, depleted the country's resources, and greatly exacerbated the country's economic situation. Secondly, rather than merely advocating for regime change, it shifted the focus to call for systemic change as its main slogan. Thirdly, it fostered an understanding that the country should pursue people-centric and sustainable economic development. Now let us see how the country's situation was superficially stabilized. First, we need to look at the Aragalaya itself to find the answer. There were two forces at work in Aragalaya: the people's interest and the Western interest. That is not a secret anymore. The people wanted a system change, but the Western power wanted regime change, topple Rajapaksa regime. They shared a common objective of working together until Gotabaya fled the country. The Western powers, through Ranil, provided resources to strengthen the Aragalaya. In fact, the Gotha Go Gama or the Gotha Go Home village is a creation of Ranil and Western partnership. They bought tents, they fed and cared for thousands of protesters stationed at Aragalaya village. Even after Mahinda quit, Ranil took over the premiership. Ranil assigned his relative politician, Ruan Vijayawardena, to oversee the protesters' well-being of the protesters at Gotha Gokama. After Gotha was deposed, the forces abandoned Aragalaya and backed Ranil in suppressing the people's struggle. The genuine people's movement battled then to sustain the momentum going, and the millions of supporters who joined the campaign to oust Ranil and advance systemic change due to lack of resources. Ranil was able to subdue the weakened Aragalaya by utilizing his executive presidency, his goons, henchmen, and a section of police force. Thus, the victory of Aragalaya was hijacked by Ranil with the support of the West. The other factor that contributed to the establishment of a superficial stability in the country was the timely support from India. Regardless of India's intention, its timely support has helped pull the country from the crisis worsening. In fact, it was Basil Rajapaksa who initiated and finished the dialogue between both the countries. Ranil had no hands whatsoever in that. Argument number 4. Vote for Ranil, who commands the respect of the West. This is the most dangerous misinterpretation emerging from Ranil's camp. Sri Lanka's strategic relevance is growing in today's geopolitics, particularly as the United States prioritizes war exports as its primary international trade policy and foments conflicts and wars in many regions. Adding to this importance, a cobalt mountain, a very rare mineral, has now been discovered in the seabed of Sri Lanka, which has attracted the attention of superpowers eager to secure these resources. Western countries are actively supporting Ranil's bid for the presidency, believing that his leadership would safeguard their interest. We will now examine Ranil's qualification to run for the presidency in this election. Everyone knows all what Ranil has done to the UNP in order to cling to its leadership. He bent the constitution of the UNP and did everything he could to keep his post in the party, including begging Rajapaksa to help when he faced threat of being ousted. He repressed internal party democracy and acted like its heir apparent to the party throne. Voters will understand the potential consequences if he is elected president in this election. Given his previous record, everyone is aware of Ranil's leadership. There are concerns among the public that Ranil may appoint corrupt foreign individuals like Arjun Mahendran as the governor to the central bank with the intention of expropriate all the banks in Sri Lanka if elected. There are worries that he might select people like Deshabandhu Tennakon as chief of police and Sanjay Rajaratnam as attorney general to establish his own law enforcement agency and have his own set of rules. There are concerns that Ranil, if elected, he would establish torture camps like Batalanda and form killer squads similar to Para and Black Cats in order to maintain control over all matters and suppress the country's democratic institutions. People fear that if Ranil elected, all the departments and ministries would run by goons like Gonavila Sunil. There are concerns that if Ranil is elected, he might buy loyalty from opponents by offering them positions, bar license, and other perks. This could help him achieve the absolute majority required in Parliament, allowing him to enact necessary laws and constitutional amendments and undermine the judiciary in order to reinforce his dictatorial control by turning Parliament into mere rubber stamp. Many believe that if he wins the election, he will lease all terminals at Colombo Port to China, India, the United States, and Japan, similar to how the Hambantota port he leased to China for 99 years. People fear that he would sell the valuable cobalt found in Sri Lanka seabed to US or any other country for pittance, intending to enrich his clique. The people fear that Ranil would sell off remaining national assets such as Sri Lanka Airlines, Kattanayake Airport, and telecom to foreign companies. Ranil's 2 years tenure proved that leopards cannot change their spots. His initial action upon assuming the presidency was to dismantle the ladder that had propelled him to power by pursuing the leaders of Aragalaya, the very moment that has assisted him to his ascent to power. He appointed the controversial Deshabandhu Thinakon. He arrogantly disregarded Supreme Court ruling that the appointment of Deshabandhu Thinakon as the chief of the police department is unconstitutional. All law-abiding citizens of the country were stunned when Ranil criticized the Supreme Court determination with regard to the Gender Equality Bill, stating that Supreme Court has engaged in judicial cannibalism and tried to appoint a select committee to look into the judgment. Many MPs like Dallas Alava Peruma also stated that President challenging the court judgment is not healthy, but Ranil could not change his spots. Ranil's rude reaction to the recent Supreme Court ruling, which stated that his failure to allocate funds for the local council elections as finance minister was constituted a violation of constitution. It demonstrates his disrespect for the judiciary of the country. He dismissively remarked, "I have no regrets about not holding the local council election." How arrogant it is. Mirroring the bond scam during his premiership, another major financial scam has been taken place under his presidency, in which vast sum went to a few politicians' pocket through a system introduced to outsource the tourist visa operation to a shell company in Dubai. Ranil entered the parliament as a lone member of the UNP under nationalist, purchased loyalty of corrupt parliamentarians, and broke all the parties in order to maintain majority and hold on to power. Ranil engaged in all sorts of constitutional maneuvers backed by corrupt parliamentarians in an effort to delay the presidential election. When the attempt was struck down by the Supreme Court, he vented his frustration. Now he has no option but to face the election. Based on his track record, let us come to a few conclusions. 1. Ranil did not rescue the country from the crisis. Rather, he protected the corrupt politician that the public protested against for days in an effort to remove them from power. These were the dishonest politicians whom the public tried to desperately remove from parliament during the Aragalaya. The ones he defended were those who consistently supported him in parliament and helped keep him in his position. Their motive went beyond the mere support. It was profitable business for them. They obtained whatever they desired in exchange for the backing. The current government has the highest level of corruption in the country's parliament history. It is ironic that people denounce blatant corruption, such as earning commission in development projects, which must, of course, be eliminated, while invisible bribery in the form of benefits, perks, and privileges to corrupt parliamentarians, which can often exceed such commissions, go unnoticed. These are the corrupt politicians who occupy the central stage alongside Ranil. Over 90% of these politicians in the Ranil camp are defectors from political parties, opportunists, position seekers, crooks, corrupt individuals, and this group includes murderers, drug traffickers, individuals who have been released on bail following legal conviction, sex offenders, and people with direct connection to the Easter bomb attack. Ranil's sole commendable act in his life has been uniting these united individuals behind him. He has gathered the country's primary thieves and corrupt figures around him. By rejecting Ranil and defeating him in this election, the public has a unique chance to expel the gang of thieves from the politics. Conclusion number 2. Ranil is running as an independent candidate this time, recognizing that if he were to campaign under his party symbols, he would likely receive even fewer votes than he did in the last general election. His choice to run as an independent is quite risky for the country. If he were to run under a party or an alliance and win, he would be accountable to the party or that alliance, ensuring some level of oversight and checks on his power. However, this time he is intentionally chosen to run independently. If he succeeds, no one can stop him. If he is given executive power based on popular mandate, he would become uncontrollable and he could establish a dangerous new standard for the country, illustrating the risk of allowing all authority to fall into the hands of a power-hungry dictator unafraid of corruption. Number 3. If Ranil Wickremesinghe becomes the president, he knows how to extend his tenure without holding any elections, outshining his uncle J.R., who taught him how to bend the country's constitution and stay in power. J.R. Jayawardena won the 1977 election by an overwhelming 4/5 majority and formed the government. To secure this majority, he had all the elected members of parliament from the UNP party under his leadership sign undated resignation letters. J.R. was responsible for introducing the 1978 constitution, which many critics deem unsuitable for the country. The only power the new constitution did not grant him was the ability to change a man into a woman and a woman into a man. It established an executive presidential system, allowing him to declare himself the first president with comprehensive executive authority. He, using his parliamentary majority, delayed the first presidential election, originally set for 1982, by 6 years, holding a referendum in his own unique way. People are aware that if Ranil is elected president, he will not relinquish this top position in the country, even if he is unable to move without a wheelchair. Should he become too frail to govern, he will pass power to a family member like Dinendra Ruwan Vijayawardena, whom he is politically grooming as he has no direct heir. Not even donkey falls in the same hole twice. The intelligent people of Sri Lanka, regardless of what slogan Ranil uses in this election, and no matter how prominent it may be, the people's message remains unchanged and very clear. It conveys the strong message. To save the country, we must protect it from the unpatriotic and arrogant dictator Ranil Wickremesinghe. In this episode, we explored the reason why voters are hesitant to vote Ranil Wickremesinghe in this upcoming presidential election. In our next post, we will take a look at who the people are likely to vote. Stay tuned. If you enjoyed this, please give us a thumb up, subscribe, share, and leave your comments. We will see you soon again. Thank you very much for watching.